guys, coming to you today all the way from a different state because I just completed this 80 lower AR-15 build here. Now I can't show you exactly what we did, how we did it, due to YouTube's policy and whatnot, but I did want to kick off a discussion on the 80 lower, why they're really cool, and I think you should build one, and then the legalities surrounding them, because it's much different, depending on what state you were in, and that is why you were here. Because in my home state, this is actually 2 guns, which is weird to think about, but it's a big gray area. So we're gonna go out, shoot this one in, and we'll reconvene back home and we'll talk about the AR. All right, back home, we're gonna take a look at the AR-15. We're gonna look at a different AR-15, because like I said, there's just some legality around the 80 lower where I live that just makes it a little bit strange to do, so we just didn't want to go through that. So unfortunately, the one that I put together is not here with me today. But I do have this one. This is one that I've had for quite some time. And why the AR-15 is such a popular gun is it's customizable. I think that's part of it. It's easy to shoot. It's well made, well constructed. It has a good design. You don't run into a lot of problems with it. And it's usually chambered in 5.56 which is abundant and cheap. And that makes it easy to get to the range and practice with it. The downside of it, of course, is this is the scary black tactical gun, right? People see this and they do not like it, even though any firearm is really capable of doing firearm things, right? This one just happens to look like this, but all my cowboy guns are usually in a higher caliber and would do more damage, and I can shoot them very, very rapidly as well. Now, that one, like I said, 5.56 but you can have them chambered in a number of things because it's a weapons platform, right? This is an AR-45, so you can have them pistol caliber. That means that if you have a pistol, you can have a shorter barrel, and then so long as you have a brace on it, that makes it a legal configuration. So that's a 45 there. Now, what is an 80 lower? When we say that, what does that mean? Well, that means that the lower receiver, right, is not finished. It's only 80% of the way finished. It's got the magwell is drilled out, but everything for the trigger assembly, the places to put the pins, for the hammer and the trigger, they are absent. You have to do those yourself. Now, why this exists is because according to the ATF, a block of metal that doesn't have the place for the trigger assembly, doesn't have those screw holes drilled for the pins, is not a firearm. So it doesn't need to be treated as such, right? So in their eyes also, you can take that 80% lower, you can finish it into a firearm, so long as you're doing it for your personal use, you don't intend to sell it, and you put it together in a legal configuration. Basically, you can't build an automatic, right? They would frown on that. And that makes it legal federally, which is great, because I think there's a lot of benefits to building your own AR. I mean, you learn so much about it. Now, I've had these guns, I've shot these guns, I've been around and shot many ARs in my time, drilling one out, putting all the pins in, doing every single piece, learning where every spring, every D10, everything goes. I learned a lot about the gun. So, it was a very good educational experience there. So that is a great thing. And like I said, federally, you're fine. The issue is state by state, all the states are different. In my state, the 80 lower is a gun. Okay, and the upper receiver is a gun. So you would have to register both of those things. However, when they're coming from the manufacturer, they're not a gun, so they don't have serial numbers on them. So that means in my state, you have to get both of those things serialized, which is not a big deal. You get the engraving done by someone that's allowed to do that. The problem is the order is a big gray area. Like if you attain it and you're on the way to get it engraved, could you get in trouble? We don't really know, because the law isn't spelled out super duper well, which is why we went around that. We went to a different state and kind of helped out a buddy that is a gunsmith that needed some of these kind of finished, and he was kind enough to let us shoot them after we put them together. So anyway, that's what we did here, but I thought it was a good jump off for this video. Let me show you a couple pictures from the weekend, and then we'll talk about kind of legalities and serialization and background checks and what it's all about. happening. It's pretty fascinating. Just your finger, and you're gonna wind that like documenting. So a lot of fun. Again, YouTube restricts, showing how to complete that. So that's just a little montage of footage, and I want to put that in there mainly for the reason to show you the level of machining equipment that one needs to do this. This is not that you buy an 80 lower and you go into your garage and you get a hammer and a screwdriver and you come out 10 minutes later with a firearm. That is not a thing. Yeah, it takes a lot of know-how. It takes a lot of specialized equipment. It takes a lot of patience. It's not a simple thing. Now, why I think people should do it is I believe strongly that the best way to prevent, gun accidents and gun violence is education, right? So learning this firearm inside and out, if you're gonna own this thing, fully knowing what every pin and spring and everything does with it is huge, and I think that is something that is great about it. Now, we talked about serialization briefly, and the fact that from the ATF, this isn't a firearm when it's an 80 lower, so it doesn't have a serial number. Now, that gets into this thing. There's this concept of ghost guns, which is kind of a dumb name, but what it is basically guns that don't have serial numbers, right? And those are illegal-ish. Again, ATF says you can complete this on your own federally, and so long as you're using it for you and you don't sell it, it doesn't need a serial number. Okay, so that's federally there. So what are serial numbers for? Okay, do serial numbers prevent crime? No, they don't. That's not a thing. How would they, right? The serial number, more than anything, allows there to be a library, documentation of who owned guns or was the original purchaser, state to state. If you do, a P2P sale, sometimes you don't have to do a transfer at a firearms dealership, depending on your state. It used to be different things were required at gun shows. So there's a lot of different things. So that registry is very, very incomplete as it is. But really, the biggest benefit of a serial number is if this gun goes missing, I am able to identify it by the serial number as it's registered to me to get my property back. That's where serial numbers really come in handy. They don't prevent crime, right? 99.9% of crime that is committed with a firearm, it's not the offender's firearm, or it's obtained illegally, right? Where it's not, things like suicides and things like that, and that's a whole nother mental health issue and things of that nature. School shootings and stuff, we have a problem with that. Like, I'm not trying to say we don't. I'm just saying I don't know that the things that we're doing really have made any kind of headway on that. Like, it's not getting better, right? So getting stuff with databases and the background checks and requiring the different things hasn't really done anything to curb that, because the guns are being obtained illegally to do that, right? So it doesn't necessarily matter if you make the law-abiding citizen jump through more hoops if the criminal is still going to get the gun illegally. Now, background checks the only place that they've been shown to make a dent is in some gun trafficking stuff in kind of lower level. The cartel is still doing what the cartel does, but some of the gun trafficking has been curbed, and that's great. I'm not against background checks or anything like that, but I think we need to be realistic on what they're for and what they're doing, and unfortunately preventing gun violence, especially against adolescents and things like that. That's not the thing. And unfortunately, the only thing in the discussion that ever gets brought up is like, oh, get rid of all guns. Well, it's not realistic. It's not going to happen. This is America, right? Like, no one's going to throw away all their guns, and you would have to rely on every single person to do that, and that's just not happening. So, what is the answer? What is the realistic thing that we can do about that? And I really believe it's education. When I was in the first grade, the police officers came to our class. They showed us guns, and we basically had a lecture on if you find a gun, you don't touch it, you tell an adult. And, they showed us guns, and we did all that. The next year in PE, we had basically hunter safety. It was like really low level firearms training as part of PE in public school. And it was great. That was the first time I really learned about gun safety. It was done well. It was taken, very, very seriously. And that same year, I joined the Boy Scouts and I started shooting 22s, and then I've been shooting guns ever since. In every environment that I've been on, it's been, one of education and one of safety. And that even goes into the competition, shooting stuff that I've done, like cowboy action. Safety's number one, and there's a lot of learning. I know more about my cowboy guns from doing cowboy action, because you have to work on them, you have to maintain them, you have to do all this stuff, than anything else, right? I learned more about this AR-15 from learning how to complete an 80 lower. So I think anything that is in that educational sphere is ultimately a good thing. And I think doing things in that, is something that can help in the long run. Again, I'm not claiming I have answers, right? I don't have answers. I don't know what the answer is. I am all for whatever works, but it just seems like we keep bringing up things that have not shown to be work, or have really inconclusive data, like the background stuff at curbing like school shootings. Like there's no real good data that shows that works. So let's do things that work. That's what I want to do. I want to find out what those things are and work them. I feel like this has taken like a turn, and this is supposed to be a fun video about completing 80 lowers here. So after we put it together, you got to make sure it works. And the way you make sure it works is you go to the range. Well, you, of course, check all your mechanicals, and, you do some dry fire and you make sure everything's working so you don't have a problem. But then you take it to the range. And then, you have some fun sighting it in. And that's exactly what we did. And we might have brought a couple other guns as well.
He's like, no, it's good, it's good. I moved a little bit, so now it won't.
Shoot it, cowboy.
I still can't see dirt or anything.
You need to get your eyes.
Should I just go?
Oh, I'm so slow.
Let's see if we can.
There is no.
So thanks for hanging out. I know this video ended up going kind of all over the place, talking about gun violence and school shootings and the AR-15 and 80 lower builds and things like that. But, it was something that I'm passionate about. I think it's a cool thing. If you're interested in doing it, check the local, state regulations for what it is. There's, I think in most states, there's a couple exceptions. You can do one legally. It's just a matter of what you have to do. Some states you might basically go through a regular background check just to receive the 80 lower, and then from there you're good, right? Other states you buy it and then you have to get it serialized to proceed. Some you serialize it after it's a firearm, and that's one of the things that's tricky. Like I said, in my state, upper and lower are two different guns for that regard. The lower is not a gun at the time that they want you to serialize it, so it's kind of a weird thing, because sometimes they don't want to serialize it because it's not a gun. So like I said, there's a lot of weird red tape, so we tried to avoid that. But AR-15, it's a great weapons platform. It is a lot of fun to shoot, right? They're a hoot. And that 5.56, it's cheap. You can get a bunch of it. You just buy yourself a whole ammo can, and then take it out to the range when you go. I've never not had a good time shooting this gun. So a lot of fun there. They, like I said, you can customize them. You can do all sorts of different things with them. Put different attachments. You can do scopes and red dots, and this one's got the the scope that like slides away so you can get to the red dot. I think I've got a laser on there too, I've seen ones that even have, you know, cup holders and whatnot. So lot of fun to take them to the range. Speaking of, you guys have a great day. Get out there and shoot.